After we finish, give her the envelope. Make sure he never sees it. Doctor, are you sure about this? The device activates in 7 minutes. She paid for a clean ending. The moment I heard Dr. Marcus Weld whisper, "Is his wife still in the waiting room?" While I was supposed to be unconscious, I knew my marriage was over. What I didn't know was that my life was about to be. Let me back up. My name is Owen Grant, and 3 weeks ago, I thought I had the perfect suburban life. Beautiful wife Elena, successful tech consulting business, and a mother whose inheritance would set us up for life. The vasectomy was Elena's idea. We don't need kids cluttering up our future. Oh, and think about all the traveling we could do. I should have known something. Was wrong when she suddenly became interested in my medical procedures. Elena had never shown concern for my health before, not even when I broke my wrist fixing our garage door. But suddenly she was researching surgeons, insisting on Dr. Weld specifically because he was a family friend. "He's practically like a brother to me," she said, her green eyes sparkling with what I thought was affection. I trust him completely. The morning of the procedure, Elena drove me to Weld's private clinic in her pristine white BMW. She'd been unusually attentive, making my favorite breakfast and even packing snacks for afterward. I joked that she was treating me like I was having major surgery instead of a simple outpatient procedure. "I just want to take care of you," she said, squeezing my hand. Her manicured nails were painted crimson red. "Dr. Weld says the recovery is crucial. We need to follow his instructions exactly." The clinic was all marble and mahogany, the kind of place that screamed expensive. Dr. Weld greeted us personally, a tall, silver-haired man with a confident smile that probably cost more than my car. He and Elena embraced like old friends, though something about their body language seemed off. Too familiar, too intimate. "Oh, and so good to finally meet you," Weld said, his handshake firm and cold. "Elena's told me so much about you. All good things." "I hope," I replied, trying to match his smile. "Oh, absolutely. She's very devoted to you." The way he said devoted made my skin crawl, but I pushed the feeling aside. I was probably just nervous about the procedure. In the pre-op room, a nurse named Clara prepared me for surgery. She was middle-aged with kind eyes, the type who'd probably been doing this for decades. As she inserted the IV, she made small talk about the weather and asked about my work. "Your wife seems lovely," she said, adjusting my hospital gown. "Very concerned about your care." "Yeah, she's been great about this whole thing," I said, though even as I said it, something nagged at me. Elena's sudden attention felt performative, like she was playing a role. The anesthesia hit fast. One moment I was counting backward from 10, the next I was floating in that strange twilight, between consciousness and sleep. That's when I heard them talking. "Is his wife still in the waiting room?" Dr. Weld's voice seemed to come from far away. "Yes, doctor," Clara replied. "She's been pacing for the past hour." "Good. After we finish the standard procedure, give her this envelope. Make sure he doesn't see it. The post-op instructions are very specific." Through the haze, I felt something odd. Not the usual surgical sensations I'd been told to expect, but something being inserted, something that didn't belong. I tried to move, to speak, but my body wouldn't respond. "The device is in place," Weld said quietly. "GPS tracking with the special feature we discussed. Remote activation in 72 hours, just like she requested." "Device? Remote activation?" My mind screamed, but my body remained paralyzed. "She's paying you well for this," Clara said, and there was disapproval in her voice. "Well enough to retire early," Weld replied. "Besides, she says he's got it coming. Apparently he's been skimming from his mother's accounts." That was a lie. I managed our family finances meticulously, and my mother's trust fund was handled by professional accountants. Elena knew that. Why would she tell Weld otherwise? The conversation faded as they finished whatever they were doing to me. When I finally came around in recovery, Elena was there holding my hand and looking concerned. "How are you feeling, sweetheart?" she asked, brushing hair from my forehead. "Groggy," I mumbled. "Everything go okay?" "Perfect," she said. "Dr. Weld says you're healing beautifully. He gave me very specific post-op instructions." She patted her purse. "We need to follow them exactly." As she helped me dress, I noticed Clara watching us from the doorway. When our eyes met, she looked away quickly, but not before I saw something that looked like guilt. The ride home was quiet. Elena drove carefully, asking repeatedly if I was comfortable. but I couldn't shake what I'd heard during surgery. Had I dreamed it? Hallucinated from the anesthesia? At home, Elena settled me on the couch with pillows and blankets, bringing me water and pain medication. She was the picture of a devoted wife, but something felt wrong. Her movement seemed rehearsed, her concern artificial. "I need to run to the pharmacy," she said, grabbing her purse. "Dr. Weld wants you to have a specific antibiotic. I'll be back in an hour." After she left, I carefully examined my incision. It looked normal, but there was a small hard lump just beneath the skin that hadn't been there before. When I pressed it, pain shot through my groin. That's when I found the envelope. Elena had left her purse on the kitchen counter, something she never did. Elena guarded her purse like it contained state secrets. Inside, along with her usual items, was a manila envelope with my name on it. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were post-operative care instructions, but not the standard ones. These were specific, detailed, and terrifying. Patient has been fitted with subcutaneous device for monitoring purposes. Device will activate automatically in 72 hours unless deactivated with provided remote. Patient must remain within 50-mile radius of clinic. Any attempt to remove device or travel beyond designated area will result in immediate activation. At the bottom in Weld's handwriting, as discussed, full payment upon completion. Cleanup will be handled by our usual associates. Cleanup. The words hit me like ice water. I read the document 3 more times, hoping I was misunderstanding. But the meaning was clear. They'd put something inside me, something that would activate in 3 days, something that would require cleanup. My phone buzzed with a text from Elena. Pharmacy was crowded. Might be another hour, rest up. I had maybe 45 minutes before she returned. Moving carefully, I gathered the documents and took photos with my phone. Then I put everything back exactly as I'd found it. When Elena returned, I was back on the couch pretending to nap. She bustled around playing the caring wife, but now I could see through the performance. Every gesture was calculated, every word chosen. "How are you feeling?" she asked, settling beside me. "Better," I lied. "Just tired. That's normal. Dr. Weld says you should rest for the next few days. No work, no driving, no stress." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I'll take good care of you." That night, as Elena slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling and planned my next move. Whatever they'd put inside me, I had less than 3 days to figure out how to stop it. And I was starting to suspect that the woman sleeping next to me wasn't just planning to leave me, she was planning to eliminate me. I waited until Elena left for her charity meeting the next morning before making my move. She'd been unusually affectionate at breakfast, making my favorite pancakes and coffee, asking repeatedly how I was feeling. The performance was getting better, but I could see the calculation behind her green eyes. "I hate leaving you alone," she said, kissing my forehead. "But this meeting is important. The Children's Hospital fundraiser won't plan itself." Elena had never shown interest in charity work before. In fact, she'd once called volunteer work a waste of time for people with no real ambitions. But lately, she'd been full of mysterious meetings and phone calls about various causes. "I'll be fine," I assured her. "Just going to rest and catch up on some reading." The moment her BMW pulled out of the driveway, I was on the phone with my best friend, Derek Martinez, who worked as a paramedic. "I need a favor," I said without preamble. "And you're going to think I'm crazy. Crazier than the time you tried to build a hot tub in your garage? Shoot." I explained about the lump under my incision, leaving out the more unbelievable parts about devices and remote activation. Derek listened without interruption. "You need to get that looked at immediately," he said. "Could be a hematoma. Could be infection. Could be worse. I know a guy at City General who owes me a favor. Dr. James Phelps. He's straight up, no BS. Can you call him now? I need to see him today and I need this kept quiet." "Owen, what aren't you telling me?" I hesitated. Derek and I had been friends since college, but this sounded insane even to me. "I think Elena might be trying to hurt me." Silence on the other end. "Then Jesus, Owen, okay. I'm calling Phelps now. Can you get to City General in an hour?" "I'll find a way." I couldn't drive. Elena had hidden my keys claiming doctor's orders. So I called a cab. The ride across town gave me time to think about everything that had seemed off about my marriage lately. Elena's mysterious phone calls, her sudden interest in my mother's health and the family trust, The way she'd pushed for the vasectomy with Dr. Weld specifically. City General was everything Weld's clinic wasn't. Busy, loud, and smelling of disinfectant, instead of expensive cologne. Dr. Phelps met me in the emergency department, a tired-looking man in his 50s with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Derek says you've got concerns about your recent surgery," he said, leading me to an examination room. "Let's take a look." I explained about the unexpected lump, watching his face as he examined the incision. His expression grew more serious as he probed the area. "This isn't normal post-operative swelling," he said. "There's definitely a foreign object under the skin. We need to get an X-ray immediately." 20 minutes later, we were staring at the X-ray results on his computer screen. There, clear as day, was a small rectangular object embedded in the tissue near my incision. "What the hell is that?" I asked, though I was afraid I already knew. Dr. Phelps enhanced the image, frowning. "It's not surgical hardware. It looks almost like—" He paused, then pulled up another image on his computer, like a GPS tracking device, the kind they use for monitoring parolees. My blood went cold. "Can you remove it?" "Absolutely. It's a simple procedure under local anesthetic. But Owen, I have to ask, how did this get here? This wasn't placed by accident." I showed him the photos I'd taken of Elena's documents. Dr. Phelps read them twice, his face growing pale. "This is attempted homicide," he said quietly. "We need to call the police immediately." "Not yet," I said. "I need to understand what I'm dealing with first. Can you remove the device without them knowing?" Dr. Phelps studied me for a long moment. "You're planning something." "I'm planning to survive and maybe get some answers." He nodded slowly. "Okay, but we do this my way. I remove the device. We document everything. And I keep it as evidence. Whatever you're planning, you're going to need proof." The removal took less than 30 minutes. The device was smaller than I'd expected, about the size of a thumb drive with tiny antennas. Dr. Phelps placed it in a sealed container. "This is military grade," he said, examining it under a magnifying glass. "Expensive GPS tracking, but there's something else. These contacts here suggest it can deliver an electrical charge enough to stop a heart." The room spun around me. They were going to eliminate me. "The good news is that we've disabled it. The bad news is that someone paid a lot of money for this, and they're going to notice when the signal goes dead." I thought about Elena, probably sitting in some coffee shop right now checking her phone for my location. How long before they realize? Could be minutes, could be hours. Depends on how closely they're monitoring. My phone buzzed with a text from Elena. "How are you feeling, sweetheart? Need anything from the store?" "She's checking on me," I said, showing Dr. Phelps the message. "You need to get somewhere safe and figure out your next move. And Owen, whatever you do, don't go home alone." I texted Elena back. "Feeling better. Taking a nap. See you tonight." Then I called Derek. "I need a place to stay for a few days. And I need to hire a private investigator." Jesus. "Owen, what did they do to you?" "They tried to eliminate me, and I'm going to find out why." Derek picked me up at the hospital, and we drove to his apartment in silence. Once inside, he poured us both whiskey and sat down across from me. "Tell me everything," he said. I did. Everything I'd overheard during surgery. The device. Elena's strange behavior. The documents. Derek listened without interruption, his expression growing darker. "You know what this sounds like?" he said finally. "Insurance fraud. She marries you, waits for your mother's inheritance, then eliminates you, and collects everything. But we don't have life insurance that you know of. Owen, if she's been planning this, she could have taken out policies without your knowledge, forged signatures, fake documents. It's been done before." The thought made me sick. How long had Elena been planning this? Had any of our marriage been real? "I know a PI," Derek said. "Rico Solana, ex-cop, works divorce cases mostly. He's good at finding out things people want to keep hidden. Set up a meeting tonight if possible." Derek made the call while I sat there, trying to process everything. My wife had tried to have me eliminated. The woman I'd shared a bed with for 3 years had been planning to eliminate me for money. My phone rang. "Elena." "Hi, sweetheart," I answered, trying to keep my voice normal. "I'm at the store. Do you need anything? More pain medication?" Ice cream? I'm okay. Just resting like you said. Good, I'll be home soon. I love you. Love you too, I lied. After I hung up, Derek shook his head. She's good. If I didn't know what I know, I'd think she was the perfect wife. She had me fooled for 3 years. The question is, what are you going to do about it? I thought about Elena's fake concern, her calculated affection, the device that could have stopped my heart with the push of a button. I thought about my mother who'd welcomed Elena into our family, and how Elena was probably already planning to console her when her son died unexpectedly. I'm going to destroy her, I said. But first, I'm going to find out exactly what she's been up to. Derek raised his glass. Then let's get started. Rico Solana agreed to meet us that night at a diner downtown. He was a compact man in his 60s, with graying hair and sharp eyes that seemed to take in everything. Derek filled me in on the basics, he said, sliding into the booth across from us. But I want to hear it from you. I told him everything again, showing him the photos of the documents and the device Dr. Phelps had removed. Rico listened carefully, taking notes. This is bigger than just insurance fraud, he said when I finished. This is organized, professional. Your wife didn't plan this alone. Dr. Weld, maybe, but there's usually more people involved in something like this. We need to find out who Elena really is, where she came from, and who she's working with. How long will that take? Rico smiled grimly. For something like this, I work fast. Give me 48 hours and I'll have answers. But Owen, you need to be careful. If they realize you know, they might try a more direct approach. What do you mean? I mean, they might stop being subtle and just shoot you. The thought should have terrified me, but instead I felt a cold anger settling in my chest. Elena had made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated me. Let them try, I said. I'm done being the victim. Rico's first report came 36 hours later, and it was worse than I'd imagined. We met at a coffee shop across town. Rico sliding a thick folder across the table. His expression was grim. Your wife's name isn't Elena Grant, he said without preamble. It's Angela Voss. And she's done this before. I opened the folder with shaking hands. Inside were photographs, documents, and newspaper clippings. The woman in the photos was definitely Elena, but younger with different hair colors and styles. 3 previous marriages, Rico continued. First husband died in a car accident in Oregon 5 years ago. Second husband had a heart attack in Nevada 3 years ago. Third husband overdosed in Arizona 2 years ago. All 3 left her substantial inheritances. Jesus Christ, it gets worse, Dr. Marcus. Weld isn't just her accomplice. He's her brother. Real name is Michael Voss. They've been running this con together for years. The room seemed to tilt around me. Her brother. Adopted siblings, grew up in foster care together. They've been partners in this since they were teenagers. Started with small-time insurance scams and worked their way up to homicide. I stared at a newspaper clipping about Elena's first husband, a successful contractor, named David Chen. The article described his tragic end when his car went off a mountain road during a snowstorm. The accidents weren't accidents, I said. None of them. We found a connection between all 3. Deaths and medical procedures performed by Michael Voss under various identities.
He's not even a licensed surgeon.
He's got fake credentials, fake medical degrees. The works. How did they get away with it? Rico lit a cigarette, ignoring the no smoking sign. They're smart. They move frequently, use different names, target men with family money but no close relatives. Until all their victims were isolated, divorced, estranged from family, few close friends. But I have friends. I have my mother. Which is why they needed to be more careful this time. The device wasn't just to eliminate you. It was to make it look like a medical complication from your surgery. Natural causes. No investigation. I thought about Elena's insistence on Dr. Weld. Her concern about following post-op instructions. Exactly. It had all been theater, setting up my death to look accidental. There's more, Rico said, pulling out another set of documents. Your wife has already taken out 3 life insurance policies on you, totaling $2 million. She forged your signature on all of them. How is that possible? She's had access to your personal documents for 3 years. Social security number, bank accounts, everything she needed. The insurance companies did minimal verification. Married couples take out policies on each other all the time. I felt sick. Elena had been planning my death for months, maybe years. Every kiss, every I love you, every moment of closeness had been a lie. What about my mother's inheritance? Rico's expression darkened. Elena's been researching your mother's assets. She knows about the trust fund, the real estate, everything. My guess is she was planning to comfort your grieving mother. Maybe become like a daughter to her, and then what? Eliminate her too? Probably. These people don't leave loose ends. I closed the folder, my hands shaking with rage. What do we do now? We build a case, document everything. Get evidence that will hold up in court. I don't want them in court, I said quietly. I want them destroyed. Rico studied my face. Oh, and I understand you're angry. Angry? I laughed bitterly. Rico, they were going to murder me and steal everything my family worked for. Angry doesn't begin to cover it. What are you thinking? I thought about Elena's fake tears, her performance as the loving wife. I thought about Weld's confident smile and cold handshake. They thought I was just another mark, another victim to be used and discarded. I'm thinking it's time they learned what it feels like to be hunted. Rico was quiet for a long moment. I can't be part of anything illegal. I'm not talking about breaking the law. I'm talking about giving them a taste of their own medicine. Psychological warfare. Make them paranoid, scared, uncertain. Let them know they've been exposed. That's dangerous. If you spook them, they might run or they might make a mistake. Either way, I'm done hiding. That evening, I returned home for the first time since discovering the device. Elena greeted me with concern and questions about where I'd been. I was worried sick, she said, embracing me. You weren't answering your phone. Sorry. I went to see Derek, needed to get out of the house. How are you feeling? Any pain? Much better. The swelling's gone down. I watched her face carefully as I said it. For just a moment, her mask slipped. There was a flicker of confusion. Maybe concern. If the device had been working, she would have known exactly where I'd been. That's wonderful, she said, recovering quickly. Dr. Weld will be so pleased. You're healing faster than expected. Speaking of Dr. Weld, I'd like to thank him properly. Maybe take him to dinner. Oh, that's not necessary. He's very busy with his practice, I insist. After all, he's practically family, right? You said he was like a brother to you, Elena's smile tightened almost imperceptibly. Maybe in a few weeks when you're fully recovered. That night, as Elena slept beside me, I carefully went through her phone. She'd changed her passcode, but I'd watched her enter it earlier. Her messages were mostly innocuous, but I found what I was looking for in her deleted folder. Text thread with M. Device went offline yesterday. What happened? Not sure. He says he's feeling better. Swelling gone down. M, that's impossible. Check on him more frequently. He will do. Might need to accelerate timeline. More no changes to plan. Stick to schedule. 48 hours. He understood. 48 hours. They were planning to eliminate me in 2 days. I screenshotted everything and sent it to Rico, then carefully deleted the evidence of my snooping. Elena stirred beside me but didn't wake. The next morning, I started my psychological campaign. I began small. Elena's morning coffee cup developed a hairline crack overnight. Her car keys went missing for 20 minutes before mysteriously reappearing in the refrigerator. Her favorite lipstick vanished from her purse. I'm losing my mind, she muttered, searching frantically for the lipstick. I could have sworn I put it right here. Stress, I said sympathetically. Maybe you should see someone about it. At lunch, I called Dr. Weld's office. This is Owen Grant, I told the receptionist. I'd like to schedule a follow-up appointment. Of course. Mr. Grant, how are you feeling? Wonderful. Better than I have in years. It's like I've got a new lease on life. There was a pause. I'll have Dr. Weld call you back. He called within an hour, his voice tense. Owen, how are you recovering? Fantastic, doctor. I feel like a new man. In fact, I feel so good I'm thinking of getting a second opinion on your work. Maybe having another. Doctor, take a look at the incision. Sight. Silence on the other end. I don't think that's necessary, Weld said finally. Everything should be healing normally. Oh, I'm sure it is, but you know how it is. Trust but verify, right? I'm thinking of going to City General. I hear they have excellent diagnostic equipment. Owen, I really don't recommend. Don't worry, doctor. I'll be sure to mention your excellent bedside manner, how you and Elena are so close, like family. I hung up before he could respond. That afternoon, Elena received a flower delivery. a beautiful arrangement of lilies. The card read, "For Angela with love from an old friend." Elena stared at the card for a full minute, her face pale. "Who's Angela?" I asked innocently. I don't know. Must be a mistake. Weird. Should we call the florist?" "No," she said quickly. "I'll handle it." That evening, Rico called with an update. "They're panicking," he said. "I've got surveillance on both of them. Weld called Elena 6 times today, and she drove to his clinic this afternoon. They met for 2 hours. Good, keep the pressure on. Owen, they're dangerous when they're cornered. You need to be careful." "I'm always careful, but I'm done being afraid." The next morning, I escalated. Elena's laptop mysteriously developed, a virus that displayed photos of her previous husbands every time she opened it. Her credit cards were declined at 3 different stores. I'd called and reported them as potentially stolen just as a precaution. But the masterstroke came that afternoon. I arranged for a private investigator, not Rico, but someone else to approach Elena at her charity meeting. He posed as a journalist working on a story about suspicious deaths in small towns across the country. "I'm particularly interested in a woman named Angela Voss," he told her. "She seems to have had remarkably bad luck with husbands." Elena fled the meeting immediately. That night she confronted me. "We need to talk," she said, her usual mask of sweetness replaced by cold calculation. "About what?" "About what you know." I looked up from my book, feigning confusion. "I don't know what you mean." "Cut the crap, Owen, the flowers, the credit cards, the journalist. You know who I am?" I set down my book and smiled. "Hello, Angela." Her face went white, then flushed with rage. "How long have you known?" "Long enough. The real question is, what are you going to do about it?" She pulled a gun from her purse, a small .22 that I hadn't known she owned. "I'm going to finish what we started," she said. "It won't be as clean as we planned. But you forced our hand." I looked at the gun calmly. "You know, Angela, you made one crucial mistake." "What's that?" "You assumed I was stupid." The lights went out. In the darkness, I heard Elena curse and fumble for the light switch. But I knew my house better than she did. I'd spent the afternoon preparing for this moment. "The power's been cut," I said from somewhere in the darkness. "I had Derek do it from outside. He's also called the police. They should be here any minute." "You're bluffing." "Am I?" "Listen carefully." In the distance, sirens were approaching. Elena fired twice in the direction of my voice, but I was already moving. The bullets shattered a lamp and punched a hole in the wall. "Owen!" she screamed. "This isn't over." But it was. The front door burst open and police flooded. In with flashlights and weapons drawn. Elena was still holding the gun when they found her. As they cuffed her, she looked at me with pure hatred. "You have no idea what you've done. Michael will never let this go." "Tell Michael. I'm looking forward to meeting him again," I said. "Under different circumstances." They arrested Angela Voss that night on charges of attempted homicide, insurance fraud, and weapons violations. But I knew this was just the beginning. Michael Voss was still out there and he had nothing left to lose. Michael Voss disappeared the night Angela was arrested, but I knew he'd be back. Men like him don't just walk away from unfinished business, especially when their partner is in custody and their entire operation has been exposed. Rico had moved me to a safe house, a nondescript apartment across town while the police built their case against Angela. But I wasn't content to hide and wait. "You should let the police handle this," Derek said, pacing the small living room. "Weld is dangerous, and now he's got nothing to lose." "That's exactly why I can't wait," I replied, studying the surveillance photos Rico had spread across the coffee table. "He's going to try to tie up loose ends. That includes me and probably my mother." The thought of Weld going after my 70-year-old mother filled me with cold rage. Ruth Grant was tough as nails, but she was still an elderly woman living alone. She'd been Angela's next target. I was certain of it. Rico tapped one of the photos. "He cleaned out his clinic yesterday, took everything, files, equipment, cash. But he made one mistake." "Or what's that?" "He kept his storage unit. Probably has backup identities, medical equipment, maybe evidence from previous jobs. If we can get inside, we can find out his next move. Or we can find enough evidence to put him away forever." I studied the address. The storage facility was on the outskirts of town, the kind of place where people kept things they didn't want found. "When do we go?" We don't go anywhere, Rico said firmly. I go. You stay here and keep your head down. Like hell. Oh, and you're not a detective. You're not trained for this. If Weld is there, then I want to look him in the eye when we take him. Down. Derek and Rico exchanged glances. They thought I was being reckless, driven by emotion rather than logic. They were probably right, but I didn't care. This had become personal the moment Weld put that device inside me. Fine, Rico said finally. But we do this my way. You follow my lead, and if I say run, you run. Deal. We went that night using Rico's van and surveillance equipment. The storage facility was poorly lit with minimal security. Just a board guard in a booth, who was more interested in his phone than monitoring the cameras. Weld's unit was in the back corner, isolated from the others. Rico made quick work of the lock while I kept watch. Inside, we found a treasure trove of evidence. Medical equipment, including devices identical to the one that had been implanted in me. Fake IDs for both Weld and Angela going back years. Files on previous victims, including detailed financial information and photographs. But the most damning evidence was Weld's journal. A detailed record of every con, every homicide, every stolen dollar. He'd kept it all, probably as insurance against Angela, or leverage for plea bargaining. Jesus, Rico whispered, flipping through the pages. He's got everything here. Names, dates, methods. This is enough to put them both away for life. I was examining the medical equipment when I heard footsteps outside. Rico heard them too, immediately switching off his flashlight and motioning for silence. The footsteps stopped directly outside our unit. I know you're in there, Michael Voss called out. His voice was calm, almost conversational. Owen Grant, the man who destroyed my sister. I felt Rico tense beside me. We were trapped. The storage unit had only one exit and Weld was blocking it. She's not your sister, I called back. She's your partner. Your accomplice in homicide. Family is what you make it. Owen. Angela and I made our family out of necessity, out of survival. We've been together since we were children. Protecting each other, taking care of each other. And you destroyed that. She tried to homicide me. She tried to give you a peaceful end. More mercy than you deserved, frankly. But now things have to be messier. I heard the sound of liquid splashing against the metal door of the storage unit. The smell of gasoline filled the air. You're going to burn to death. Owen, you and your private investigator friend, just like my first foster father, who thought he could touch Angela and get away with it. Rico was already on his phone, texting frantically. Backup, I hoped, or the fire department. But help wouldn't arrive in time. You know what your problem is, Michael? I called out, buying time. You think you're smarter than everyone else, but you made the same mistake Angela did. What's that? You underestimated me. I pulled the fire extinguisher from the wall mount and signaled Rico. He nodded, understanding immediately. You're trapped. Owen, there's nowhere to run. I'm not running. I kicked open the storage unit door and immediately discharged the fire extinguisher. The cloud of chemical foam caught Weld by surprise, blinding him temporarily. Rico was right behind me, tackling Weld before he could light the gasoline. The two men rolled on the ground, fighting for control of Weld's lighter. I grabbed a tire iron from the unit and brought it down on Weld's wrist. He screamed and dropped the lighter, clutching his broken arm. It's over, Michael, I said, standing over him. Your sister's in jail. Your operation is finished, and you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison. Weld looked up at me, with eyes full of hatred. You think this ends here? We're not the only ones, Owen. There are others like us, and they don't like it when people interfere with business. Let them come, I said. I'm ready. Police sirens were approaching in the distance. Rico had managed to call for backup before the confrontation began. You have no idea what you've started, Weld said as Rico zip-tied his hands behind his back. Angela and I were small time compared to some of the others. They're going to come for you and for your mother, and for everyone you care about. Then I guess I'll have to stop them, too. As the police took Weld into custody, I felt a strange sense of completion. The man who'd tried to homicide me was finished. His partner was in jail and their victims would finally have justice. But Weld's words echoed in my mind. Were there really others? Was this part of a larger network of killers and con artists? Rico must have been thinking the same thing. As we watched the police car drive away with Weld inside, he turned to me. You know this might not be over. I know. But I'm not the same man who walked into that clinic for a vasectomy. They changed me. Rico, they turned me into someone who fights back. What are you going to do now? I thought about Angela's fake tears, Weld's cold smile, the device that could have stopped my heart. I thought about all their previous victims, people who died alone and afraid, never knowing what hit them. I'm going to make sure this never happens to anyone else, I said. However long it takes, whatever it costs. They wanted to turn me into a victim, but instead they created something much more dangerous. What's that? Someone who knows how they think, how they operate, and who has nothing left to lose. Derek joined us as the crime scene wrapped up. So what now? Back to normal life. I looked at the storage unit full of evidence at the gasoline stains on the concrete at the place, where I'd almost died. Normal life seemed like a foreign concept. I don't think there's any going back, I said. But maybe that's not such a bad thing. As we drove back to the safe house, I made a decision. I wouldn't just rebuild my life. I'd dedicate it to hunting down people like Angela and Michael. There were others out there. Weld had said so himself. Other predators, other killers, other people who thought they could destroy lives without consequences. They were about to learn otherwise. 3 months after Angela and Michael's arrest, I thought the nightmare was over. I'd moved back home, changed all the locks, and installed a security system that would make Fort Knox jealous. My mother had recovered from the shock of learning about Angela's true identity, and I was slowly rebuilding my life. That's when the first message arrived. It was slipped under my door during the night. A simple white envelope with my name written in block letters. Inside was a photograph of me leaving the courthouse after Angela's sentencing with a red X drawn over my face. On the back, someone had written, "Michael wasn't lying. We don't forget." I called Rico immediately. "They're making contact," he said after examining the photo. "Testing your reactions, seeing if you're scared." "I'm not scared. I'm pissed off." "Good, fear makes you weak. Anger makes you focused, but Owen, we need to be smart about this. If there really is a network, they'll be more careful than Angela and Michael were." Over the next week, more messages arrived. Photos of my house, my car, my mother's assisted living facility. Someone was watching me, documenting my routines, learning my vulnerabilities. The breakthrough came when Derek noticed something odd about one of the photos. "Look at the reflection in your car window," he said, pointing to a barely visible image. "That's a camera lens. Professional equipment." Rico enhanced the image on his computer. "I know that camera. It's expensive, specialized. There's only one place in the city that rents equipment like that. Paxton Photography," I read from the screen. "Downtown. Time for a field trip." The photography studio was a converted warehouse in the arts district, the kind of place where hipsters paid too much for wedding photos. The owner, Janet Paxton, was a woman in her 50s with paint-stained fingers and suspicious eyes. "I can't give out information about my client," she said when Rico showed his PI license. "Privacy laws. You understand." "This is about a criminal investigation," Rico pressed. "Someone's been using your equipment to stalk and threaten people. Then, you need a warrant." I stepped forward, pulling out my phone. "Or you need to see this." I showed her the photos that had been left at my house, including the one with the camera reflection. Her face went pale. "Oh my God," she whispered. "I rented that camera to a woman last week. She said she was documenting architecture for a magazine." "What did she look like?" "Blonde, maybe 40. Very professional, paid in cash. Gave the name Sarah Miller." Rico and I exchanged glances. "Another fake identity. Do you have security cameras?" I asked. "Of course." The footage showed a woman who looked nothing like Angela, but moved with the same calculated grace. She knew where the cameras were, keeping her face partially hidden, but there was something familiar about her posture. "I've seen her before," Rico said, studying the screen. "Not sure where, but I know that walk." We got our answer 2 days later when she made direct contact. I was leaving the grocery store when a black sedan pulled up beside me. The window rolled down, revealing the blonde woman from the security footage. "Get in, Owen," she said. Her voice was cultured, educated with just a hint of an accent I couldn't place. I don't think so. She showed me a gun, keeping it low so other shoppers couldn't see. I wasn't asking. I got in the car, mentally cataloging details. Late model BMW, leather interior, classical music playing softly. The woman was well-dressed, expensive jewelry, manicured nails. This wasn't some street criminal. This was someone with money and connections. "My name is Victoria Ashford," she said as we drove through downtown traffic. I was Michael's business partner. "Another fake name?" She smiled. "Actually, that one's real. I own several legitimate businesses. Art galleries, antique shops, a small publishing house. The homicide for hire operation is more of a side venture." Her casual admission sent chills down my spine. "What do you want?" "I want to offer you a deal." Michael and Angela were sloppy, emotional. They let personal feelings cloud their judgment. I don't make those mistakes. "What kind of deal?" "You walk away, forget about us, forget about our organization, and live your life. In return, we'll leave you and your family alone." "And if I refuse?" Victoria turned onto a side street, pulling into an empty parking lot. "Then you'll join our client list along with your mother, your friend Derek, that private investigator you've been working with. Everyone you care about becomes a target. You're threatening to eliminate innocent people. I'm offering to not eliminate them." "There's a difference." I studied her face, looking for any sign of humanity. There was none. Victoria Ashford was a predator in expensive clothing, a killer who turned homicide into a business model. "How many people have you eliminated?" I asked. "Personally 17. But our organization has been responsible for over 200 deaths in the past decade. We're very good at what we do, Owen. Much better than Michael and Angela ever were." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I respect what you did to them. It was impressive, resourceful. You have potential." "Potential for what?" Victoria's smile was cold as winter. "We're always looking for new talent. Someone with your skills, your determination, your complete lack of moral flexibility when properly motivated. You could be very valuable to us. You want me to join you? I want you to consider your options carefully. You can fight us and watch everyone you love die, or you can join us and live very comfortably. We pay extremely well." She handed me a business card. Expensive paper, embossed lettering. "Victoria Ashford, Private Acquisitions." There was a phone number and nothing else. "Think about it," she said, "but don't think too long. I'm not as patient as Michael was." She dropped me off at a bus stop 6 blocks from the grocery store. As I watched the BMW disappear into traffic, I realized the game had changed completely. Angela and Michael had been amateurs compared to this woman. I called Rico from a payphone, not trusting my cell phone anymore. "They want to recruit me," I told him. "Jesus, what did you tell them?" "Nothing." "But Rico, this is bigger than we thought." She admitted to over 200 homicides. "We're not dealing with a couple of con artists anymore. This is organized crime. We need to call the FBI." "With what evidence?" "A business card and my word against a woman who probably has alibis. Going back years." Rico was quiet for a moment. "What are you thinking?" I looked at Victoria's business card, thinking about her casual admission of homicide, her threats against my family and friends. "I'm thinking it's time to go hunting. Owen, these people are professionals. They're not going to make the same mistakes Angela and Michael made. Then I'll have to be better than I was before." That night, I sat in my living room with Derek and Rico planning our next move. Victoria had given me a way to contact her, which meant she expected an answer. The question was what that answer should be. "You could pretend to join them," Derek suggested. "Get inside information. Find out how their operation works." "Too dangerous," Rico said. "If they suspect you're working against them, you're dead. I'm dead anyway if I don't do something." She made that clear. I thought about all the people Victoria's organization had eliminated. All the families destroyed. All the lives cut short for money. Someone had to stop them, and it looked like that someone was me. "I'm going to take her deal," I said finally. "Owen," Derek started. "Not the recruitment offer, the other one. I'm going to pretend to walk away. Make them think I'm scared. Then I'm going to hunt them down one by one." Rico shook his head. "That's suicide." "Maybe, but it's better than letting them continue eliminating innocent people." I picked up Victoria's business card, studying the elegant typography. Tomorrow I would call her and tell her I was walking away. I would lie convincingly, make her believe she'd won. Then I would show her what a real hunter looked like. I called Victoria Ashford the next morning using a voice that I hoped conveyed defeat and fear. "I've thought about your offer," I said. "You win. I don't want any part of this anymore. A wise decision. Oh, and I knew you were smarter than Michael gave you credit for. I just want to live my life in peace. No more investigations. No more revenge fantasies. I'm done." "Excellent. Of course. We'll need some assurance of your commitment to this arrangement." My blood went cold. "What kind of assurance?" "Nothing too onerous. A small task to demonstrate your sincerity. Consider it a gesture of good faith." "What kind of task?" "There's a man in Chicago who's been asking uncomfortable questions about some of our previous work. A journalist named Thomas Reed. We need him to stop asking those questions." "You want me to eliminate him?" "I want you to convince him that his investigation is unhealthy. How you accomplish that is up to you." Victoria gave me an address and a deadline, 72 hours. If Reed was still investigating after that, she would assume I wasn't serious about our arrangement. After I hung up, I immediately called Rico. "She wants me to intimidate a journalist in Chicago." I told him. "A man named Thomas Reed, it's a test. She's seeing if you'll actually cross the line or she's eliminating a threat and making me complicit at the same time. Either way, I need to get to Chicago. Oh, and if you do this, even if you don't actually hurt the guy, you become part of their organization. There's no going back. I'm not going to hurt him. I'm going to warn him and get him to safety. But Victoria needs to think I've completed the job." Rico was quiet for a moment. "You have a plan. I have the beginning of a plan. The rest I'll figure out as I go." I flew to Chicago that afternoon using cash and a fake ID that Rico had provided. Thomas Reed worked for a small investigative newspaper, the kind of publication that specialized in stories the major outlets wouldn't touch. I found him at a coffee shop near his office, a thin man in his 30s with tired eyes and ink-stained fingers. He looked like someone who'd been working too hard for too long. "Mr. Reed?" I sat down across from him without invitation. "My name is Owen Grant. I think we need to talk." He looked up from his laptop, immediately suspicious. "I don't know you." "No, but you've been investigating people who know me. Victoria Ashford and her associates." Reed's expression changed, becoming more alert. "How do you know about my investigation?" "Because they sent me to stop it permanently if necessary." Showed him Victoria's business card and explained the situation. My history with Angela and Michael, Victoria's recruitment attempt, the task I'd been given. "They want you dead," I said bluntly. "And they've made me the weapon." Reed paled. "Jesus Christ. I knew I was on to something big. But I didn't realize, what have you found?" He pulled out a thick folder. Names, dates, connections. Victoria Ashford's organization isn't just a homicide for hire operation. It's a full-service criminal enterprise. Money laundering, identity theft, insurance fraud, contract eliminating. They've got connections to organized crime families, corrupt politicians, dirty cops. How many people are involved? At least 50 that I can identify, maybe twice that number. They operate in cells, so most members don't know about the others. Very sophisticated, very careful. Not careful enough. Apparently. Reed smiled grimly. "I've been working on this story for 2 years. Started with a simple insurance fraud case and kept following the connections. Victoria Ashford is just the tip of the iceberg. Do you have enough evidence to bring them down?" "Maybe, but I need more time and I need to stay alive long enough to publish it." I made a decision that would change everything. "What if I could get you inside information, direct access to their operations?" "You're talking about going undercover?" "That's incredibly dangerous. I'm already in danger. We all are. But if I can convince Victoria that I've eliminated you while actually helping you gather evidence, it could work," Reed said slowly. "But if they catch you, then I'll be dead. But at least I'll have tried to stop them." We spent the next 6 hours planning. Reed would disappear, leave town, stay with friends, keep a low profile while continuing his investigation remotely. I would stage evidence of his accident to satisfy Victoria. The plan was simple but risky. Reed would crash his car into a guardrail on a remote stretch of highway outside the city. The car would catch fire, destroying any DNA evidence. By the time authorities arrived, There would be nothing left but burned wreckage and a body too damaged to identify. Except there wouldn't be a body. We found the perfect location. A bridge over a deep ravine, isolated and rarely traveled at night. Reed's car was old enough that the safety systems wouldn't prevent what we needed to do. At midnight, we put the plan into motion. Reed accelerated toward the guardrail while I prepared the incendiary device. Nothing fancy, just gasoline and a timer. At the last second, Reed jumped from the moving car. The crash was spectacular. The car punched through the guardrail and tumbled into the ravine, exploding in a ball of flame. From a distance, it would look like a tragic accident. A tired journalist who fell asleep at the wheel and paid the ultimate price. Reed and I watched from a safe distance as emergency vehicles arrived. The fire department put out the blaze, but there was nothing left to save. The car was completely destroyed, and the intense heat had eliminated any evidence that might contradict our story. Thomas Reed is officially dead, I said as we walked back to my rental car. Now you can investigate them without looking over your shoulder. What about you? You still have to deal with Victoria. Leave that to me. I called Victoria the next morning, reporting Reed's accident with just the right amount of satisfaction and nervousness. She seemed pleased. Excellent work, Owen. I knew you had potential. It wasn't easy. I've never done anything like that before. The first time is always difficult. It gets easier. What happens now? Now you become a full member of our organization. There will be other assignments, other tests, but you've proven yourself. Tonight, Victoria arranged to meet me in person when I returned to the city. She wanted to introduce me to other members of the organization, begin my training in their methods. What she didn't know was that I'd already begun training in how to destroy them. Over the next month, I worked my way deeper into Victoria's organization. I attended meetings, learned their procedures, met their key players, and I documented everything. Names, addresses, bank account numbers, operational details. I photographed documents, recorded conversations, mapped their entire network. Thomas Reed, working from his safe house, helped me organize the evidence into a comprehensive case that would destroy them all. The final meeting was held in Victoria's penthouse apartment, a lavish space filled with expensive art and antiques, probably stolen from their victims. She assembled the core leadership of the organization to welcome me officially. "Ladies and gentlemen," Victoria said, raising a glass of champagne, "I'd like you to meet our newest associate, Owen Grant. He's proven himself to be resourceful, determined, and completely committed to our cause." The others applauded politely. I recognized several faces from Reed's investigation. Wanted criminals, suspected killers, people who'd been living free while their victims rotted in graves. "Thank you," I said, accepting the champagne. "It's an honor to be here." "Owen eliminated a troublesome journalist for us," Victoria continued. "Showed real initiative and creativity. I think he's going to be a valuable addition to our family." I smiled and nodded, playing my role perfectly, but inside I was counting down the minutes. At exactly 9 p.m., the lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in immediately, bathing the apartment in red. Victoria's guest looked around nervously, hands moving toward concealed weapons. "Stay calm," Victoria said. "Probably just a power outage." That's when the FBI agents came through the windows. They rappelled down from the roof, moving with military precision. Flashbang grenades filled the apartment with light and sound, disorienting everyone except me. I'd been prepared for it. "FBI, nobody move." Victoria's organization had been caught completely off guard. Most surrendered immediately, dropping weapons and raising hands. A few tried to fight, but they were quickly overwhelmed. Victoria herself stood frozen in the center of the room, champagne glass still in her hand, staring at me with dawning understanding. "You?" she whispered. "Me," I confirmed, pulling off the wire I'd been wearing. "Every word, every confession, every detail of your operation, all recorded, all admissible in court." The FBI agent in charge, Special Agent Sarah Chen, approached Victoria with handcuffs. "Victoria Ashford, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit homicide, racketeering, money laundering, and about 50 other charges." As they led Victoria away, she looked back at me one last time. "This isn't over, Owen. There are others. There are always others." "Then I guess I'll have to find them." "Two," I replied. 6 months later, I sat in a federal courthouse watching Victoria Ashford receive 17 consecutive life sentences. Her organization had been completely dismantled. Its members either dead, imprisoned, or fled to countries without extradition treaties. Thomas. Reed's story had been published simultaneously in newspapers across the country, exposing the full scope of their crimes. The families of their victims finally had answers and justice. After the sentencing, I walked outside into the sunshine. Derek and Rico were waiting for me along with my mother, who'd insisted on being there for the conclusion. "So what now?" Derek asked. "Back to normal life." I thought about Victoria's final words, about the other predators still out there, still hunting innocent people. I thought about Angela's fake tears and Michael's cold smile, and all the victims who would never see justice. "I don't think there's such a thing as normal life anymore," I said. "But maybe that's okay. What are you going to do?" I looked at the courthouse, at the place where monsters had finally faced consequences for their actions. "I'm going to keep hunting. There are others out there just like Victoria said, and they need to know that someone's coming for them." "That sounds dangerous," my mother said. "Living is dangerous, Mom, but letting evil people hurt innocent victims is worse." As we walked away from the courthouse, I felt a sense of completion that I'd never experienced before. The scared man who'd gone in for a simple vasectomy was gone, replaced by someone harder, more focused, more dangerous. Angela and Michael had tried to make me a victim. Instead, they'd created their own worst nightmare. Someone who understood how predators think, how they operate, and how to stop them. The hunt would continue. There would always be another Victoria Ashford, another network of killers, another group of people who thought they could destroy lives without consequences. They were about to learn otherwise.